Hey guys, Stash here with an event breakdown for the new event, Tacit Trial. I do understand it is the last day of the event. I apologize. It's been a busy week and I've had kind of an annoying cough. So if the video seems choppy at any point, I might be paused it to deal with that cough. But I figure at the very least, if the event comes back, everybody should have a leg up on it. And who knows, maybe in the last couple hours, as you review it, maybe it'll kind of help you with maximizing usage of those final points and resources. So the main area you get into on the very top, you have the Tacit Trial area. This is going to be your player versus environment, where you'll do a memory match game to establish your Tacit points. In the middle, you see Tacit Duel. That's going to be a player versus player, where those Tacit points will get compared up to other people, and the higher points will be the winner. Continuing on, the Tacit Challenge. The Alliance Tacit Challenge is kind of like an Alliance Challenge AC layout, and that will be a more team versus team. So with your alliance's cumulative Tacit points compared to other alliances. So looking at the Harmony wheel, this is your random draw area. As you can see, the resource for this is called Dark Angel. It's like a heart-shaped angel food cake. It's going to be a base retail cost of 50 gems with the normal 10 spins for 9 items. The event resource item that I would recommend personally is the match scrolls. If you are going to really play the event and build up your Tacit points, your match scrolls are going to get you probably the more effective and higher return of investment. The Rose Petal is going to be your participation resource for the match game, the Tacit Trial. I will say that this, if you passively play, will net you, even for a loss with no effort, 6,000 exchange shop points, which are called Harmony Gold. If you actually put the time in, which can be time consuming for the whole 10 rounds of the match game, it can net you 12,000. Early on, if you're low on gems, but you need to upgrade your Tacit points, the Tacit necklace can be helpful for the first handful of spins that you do. Beyond that, I would definitely switch it back to the participation resource. Typically in events, that's kind of always true, because the participation resource always nets you exchange shop points. This voting ticket is what is going to cast your vote in the hero or maiden skin voting. That's going to be over here in yearly voting, where you can choose which heroes you would like to get a new skin or which maiden you would like to get a new skin. It would be interesting to kind of note, where our final voting results are, so that way if they pay attention and try to give skins to a lot of these other runner-ups. Tacit Love is your daily supply drop. There's both free and paid, as usual with a lot of events. And then right now we'll last look at the limited offers, so we can go over the event items. So as I mentioned, the participation resource for the Tacit Trial is the Rose Petal. Your return on investment for a no effort loss is 6,000 exchange shop points, Harmony Gold. The win is going to be 12,000, but will cost you a lot of time. Continuing on to the match scroll, a loss in Alliance Tacit Challenge, the later event that you'll participate, a loss is going to be 12,000 for the round, but the round will cost you 2 match scrolls. So basically it breaks down to the same as the Tacit Trial, so 6,000 as a return of investment for each scroll. And then for a win, though, if you are able to win, which it seems like there's not a lot of alliances, or there might be some alt alliances out there that are not participating as much. So for 2 match scrolls and a win, it's going to be 24,000. So each scroll will net you 12,000, which kind of lays out somewhat similar to the Tacit Trial. And that's why I mentioned it first. The Tacit Duel, which is the player versus player, you're going to net about 7,000 for each win, but 4,000 for a loss. So you'll still get some points. And then the other thing is, obviously you will run into people that have more Tacit points than you. So you got to kind of average that out. But if you are, like I said earlier, if you are going to play the game The match scrolls are important. If you are going to be passive in the event participation, the rose petals can net you some really easy points. Continuing on to your upgrade resources. The first is the most easy to find, and that's the Tacit necklace. The Tacit rings are very hard to come by, and they're very expensive, and hopefully maybe that'll get fixed in the future, because otherwise there's still not going to be much competition, especially in the duel, where people, if they have more access to these Tacit rings, they'll probably be able to compete and get their Tacit points a little higher. So hopefully that's noted by the developers. Additionally, one of the other areas in the Tacit trial is the fortune cards, which I'll show you. And you're going to use floral scent in that area. And it's pretty much essentially just a random draw flip, to get the reward that you want. This item is also very hard to come by, and hopefully they adjust that, because it is kind of a neat, reward system to, guess as you flip the cards which one has the grand prize. But unfortunately, the floral scent is very hard to come by, so it kind of leaves you a bitter taste in your mouth. Again, these are the voting tickets, as I showed you earlier. We'll move on from there. Coming down here, and again, that's your Dark Angel for the Harmony Wheel. Looking at this Jewel Random Chest, I'll show you more about this later, but this is what you're going to be using in the Alliance Tacit Challenge. That will start for day 4, and you'll have rounds that pop up for the last 4 days of the event. And then lastly, this gold heart is your Harmony Gold. This is what you're going to use in the exchange shop. So let's get into the actual match game. So in Tacit Trial, you'll see a couple areas, and upgrade is at the very top. This is where you would drop necklaces and rings, and I will show you another image of exactly what that looks like. This is your fortune cards. This is where you're going to go through multiple rounds. Here's the prize display that you can see. There's multiple rounds, and there's even some skins in here and some, frags for the new hero. So it's pretty neat. I will show you some graphics that show out. As you can see on this round 9, it's going to cost you 4 cents in order to flip each card. So obviously it gets a little costly, and these are not very readily available. So getting deep into this event portion is not as likely. Your upgrade. When you upgrade your Tacit points, you will start with an amount at the beginning of your match game. Let me show you that real fast. With each successful match, you will net your base amount. So the max is 640, and early on the lower levels of your upgrade, you're going to have much lower amounts that you start with. Each time you do a consecutive match, you're going to then get a combo strike. You can see that with this little information icon up here by your points. And so the way you get the highest amount of Tacit points is by lining up consecutive matches. When the board gets a little bigger, I would recommend that you reach out and recon the board with wasting these little gummy candies, these heart gummies. And you don't want to waste too many, because if you run out, you will not be able to actually finish the rounds. But early on in each round, what you're going to want to do is recon the board, so that way you can do consecutive matches. Because as you just saw, I had a fail, and a fail will reset you back to your base earning point for a match. See, as you can see, 640. Whereas a consecutive match will be 2 times combo match, and you'll net more. So let's back out of here. We'll go over more in-depth gameplay. But as you can see, a failure is going to net you the 6,000, and there might be some random points added on. Looking at another thing that I haven't showed you before, but I'd like to market the Rose Garden, because there's some really helpful things that are posted. As you can see, there's a lot of events that people post helpful information on. I'd like to kind of market that and show you, because as a member, it's free and there's a lot of things that can help you out with the game, not just events. So looking at upgrade Tacit points, as you can see, each level has been posted. So eventually we'll do a spreadsheet, especially if the event is coming back, to lay out exactly how many rings or necklaces you're going to want to collect. And then that graphic on the bottom shows you what it kind of looks like and how you'll apply each Tacit and ring amounts that you have if you meet the base requirement for the level. Those flowers that you saw in the match shows you these type of buffs. So as you do your match game, you're going to see that there is a black rose, which gives you a 60% chance to make a maiden patience increase by 1. A red rose, which is 15% to temporarily reveal a random card. A pink rose, which is probably your bread and butter, which is 3 cards at once. The green rose, 15% to obtain heart gummies from the current maiden. That is also a helpful buff because you're going to need more heart gummies to do recon at the beginning of your rounds. The yellow rose is going to increase your maiden patience by 1. And a blue rose, which is going to be a 30% to auto flip a random card when cards are eliminated. There's also a white rose that is not pictured here, and that one will flip an adjacent card. I'll show you that here. As you can see, other than the pink rose, every other rose buff allows you to upgrade as the rounds go on. As you can see here, this is the white rose. It says 15% chance to flip an adjacent card when flipping. If I can make a recommendation here, I would say that your best ones are obviously the pink rose, the red rose, and the green rose. If in the event that you are going to spend some money and VIP, you can get the use of a third buff, and that requirement is 1500 VIP EXP acquired during the event. Then a third rose area will open, as you'll see here. It's this third spot as these 3 circles. And so it can be extremely helpful as you go on because the pink, the red, and the green are, in my opinion, the best combination. So early on, your first 2 rounds are a little bit difficult to get a perfect round because in the event that you match right out of the bag, the very first match, you risk losing your buff. Okay, I lucked out. So see the maiden in the top middle? That maiden that shows there is going to give you heart gummies in the event that you match her cards. That is helpful early on, but if you get the green rose buff, the best part of that is you don't necessarily need to focus on who's up there. And you should be able to have enough gummies by the end to still do some recon. You're going to then get an option to pick a rose. If you don't get the pink one to start, I would refresh. If you are limited on gems, I would go with the red one if you can get it. Otherwise, I would continue to scroll if you're going to really try to play the game. Again, you could pick the red, but I'll show you why the pink is needed. So you can flip any 3 cards, hoping to not necessarily get a match, but it's okay because now the 3 cards I flip guarantee a match. So you want to do consecutive matches because your base points from upgrading your Tacit points, which the max is, I believe it was 640, is going to be what you are afforded. As you do combination strikes, which is consecutive matches, you get 120, then 140, 160, and so on of your base points. And at the end of the 10 rounds, the amount of Tacit points that you earn is going to be the Tacit points that you use in duel. It's not accumulative. It's not how many times you play, tack on more and more points. It's the highest you were able to earn. And I will tell you, a perfect matching round of of every single card consecutively is how you're going to net that high points to beat other people. So with that, the hardest thing is if you do start out with a match because you're not able to do, kind of free recon. I do remember where the match for her is, but what I would recommend is because you have the pink rose, instead of going directly to that match, click another one so you can find out where the other cards are and take note mentally. If you're going to play this, it's on the phone. So obviously I would recommend either write down, on pieces of paper with like a diagram or schematic of where each card is as you play. It's a great strategy, or you can always take a screenshot of the board. And then if you have a separate app that you can do drawing annotations, you can save exactly where the cards are. So I already forgot. I'm going to guess there. Continuing on. I don't know. I now do not know where a match is, but I have 3 flips in order to do one. What I will say is frequently matches tend to sometimes be right next to each other. So as you play, so I do know now where a match is, and in order to get the highest amount of tacit points, you're going to want to do consecutive matches only. So obviously I can continue on, but I will need at the very end of everything to do consecutive matches to have the highest amount of points earned in order to compete. So this goes for 10 rounds. You're going to get 3 rose buffs if you spend the money. Otherwise, you're going to be with just the 2. The green one will automatically, in random situations of 15%, 22, and 30%, will afford you her gummies. Whatever maiden is at the top, whether you match her cards or not. That is very helpful, as you can do recon early on without flipping cards. So now I can remember I have Fenrir's maiden, I have Thor's, and I have Jack Frost's. So what I was doing is screenshotting, and I would basically annotate over the card with an F for Fenrir and a J for Jack Frost and a T for Thor. And as I would continue, instead of matching right away, I now know exactly where one match is, which is Jack Frost's maiden. So now that I've made a match, I need to continue to recon while I do matches. So Jack Frost's maiden there and there. Now I have another match that I know, and I can flip this. Okay, she has another card somewhere, but I do know where Thor's maiden is. What you saw there at the top, this is the red rose. As you do card flips, you'll have random pop-ups, and the beauty of this versus the yellow rose or the white rose is this doesn't count as a card flip. The problem with the white rose is it will waste your turn. So in order to do consecutive matches, you are basically having your consecutive match at risk because the random flip might ruin your consecutive match. So as I know, obviously Fenrir's maiden's up there, Jack Frost here, and we're going to hope. Yep. And so I now know the last 2, but it doesn't matter because I have the ability to flip 3 cards. And so now, as you can see on that top, as I do the final flip, combo strike times 6. So that's how you're going to net the most points. And as you can see, you upgrade your buffs. I would go and upgrade most preferably your red first, then your green, because it's going to help you, and continue to do recon in the beginning of your rounds, knowing exactly where they are. So that way, once you kind of map out the majority of the board, you don't have to necessarily keep wasting gummies, but you can also just do a complete clear of the board with consecutive matches. So exiting out of there, we'll look at the amounts that you are able to get. There are progress rewards. So the highest round that you run will land you on this progress chart. And the complete max you can get is 72,064. Beyond that, the majority of people are going to be between 20,000 and 40,000. So where you land on this board, you'll be able to collect more rewards, but these points will go towards your Tacit Duel. In Tacit Duel, which as you can see, match scrolls cost 35 gems per scroll. Let's just do one. We'll do a Tacit Duel, and it'll compare my points to somebody else's. And so if you have more, you're going to net 40 points towards your level. I'll show you the levels here. With each duel, say I net 40 points. Those 40 points are going to land me in the range of 100 to 200 points. So tomorrow, if I land in that level 1, I'm going to get a reward of 5,000. If I'm able to work myself up all the way up to more than 3,600, then I'm going to get 5 cents, floral cents, and I'm going to get 80,000 harmony gold at the beginning of the next day, or right after reset. In the event that you lose a match, you will have 10 points deducted from your running duel total. Continuing on, you can look into your attack and defense, so you can kind of see who might be kind of getting the best of you. That's your duel. These points with a win will net you 7,000 points. A loss will net you 4,000. Keep that in mind when choosing what resources you go after. Lastly, I'd like to get into the Alliance Tacit Challenge. The first day it opens up, it's very similar to AC, where you can do drop homage, and then you're going to have essentially 4 days of rounds that you can participate. You don't have to participate, but if you do and you win the round, your alliance wins the round, you're going to net a total of 24,000. And you can see that here under battle rewards. So, I apologize. Not 24,000, 20,000. So you can net 10,000 gold per match scroll, or with a loss, 6,000 match scroll return of investment. And then, of course, the overall event has alliance rewards that you're going to be able to receive. Continuing in, when you join a round, you have the ability to see your bag. Once you participate, you click register, you'll spend 2 match scrolls. You'll then basically go into your participation, the position, and then you now have the opportunity to use these jewel random chests. You'll use one, and then basically down here, each of these, which are kind of the equivalent of AC flags, can be used. So you just click, and I have plenty of these, so I'm going to click this one, and automatically it's going to tack onto your position among everybody. And so now when you go up against someone, you'll have the opportunity to have a little bit of a buff. My recommendation for which you choose is, if you have a high tacit point challenge, if you have a high tacit point level, I would use the ruby. Obviously, it's not guaranteed you're going to have a lot of them, so maybe save them. And in the event that it's not as high, I would use yellow, because in comparison, say you have 40,000 points and you go up against someone that's 20,000 points. If you buff your 10%, each opponent you face, you're going to get 10% of your 40,000. So 4,000. In the event that you nerf the opponent, that 20,000 is only going to be a subtraction of 2,000. So now it's 18 against 40 rather than 44 against 20. So keep that in mind. Obviously, some of these are a little bit more value than others. In the event that the event returns and it's a little more competitive, you're not going to be necessarily running against a bunch of opponents that didn't send anybody. And you'll be able to collect, if you did register, you'll be able to collect your points and go spend them. So I think the event is not that bad of an event. It's pretty easy. I think it definitely needs some tweaks. It definitely needs the upgrade resources to be a little bit more available. You also need the floral scent would be nice as well. And then it can be a little bit more competitive. So again, just to break down, as I said, you have a return of investment of the rose petals of 6,000 for a loss, 12,000 for a win but it's gonna cost you a lot of time. You also have the return of investment of the match scrolls, which is gonna be in duels, 4,000 for a loss, 7,000 for a win, depending on your tacit points level. And then in Alliance Challenge, it's 6,000 for a loss per match scroll and 10,000 for a win. So obviously the rose petals are definitely an easy collection of points, but there's drawbacks. Continuing on, just to wrap up final couple notes, I would say that as you do your tacit trial, keep notes, get far in there, and then once you get your tacit points upgraded, you're gonna need to run another match trial. So if you upgrade higher another day, you're gonna need to run another match trial. And so as you run that match trial, you're now starting with a higher base points for your match. Try not to match the first time. Then you can kind of have a little bit more forgiveness. At least now I know where she is. But luckily I did not waste a match, so I can still get the max amount. I know where Diokin is. I can net gummies because I'm matching the maiden that's up there and continue on. So like I said, you want to basically aim for consecutive matches in all your rounds. Do the recon, get the layout of where all the cards are, and then as you continue on, once you get the majority of the cards, then start your matching and do match after match after match until the entire board is clear. Then you're going to have the highest amount of tacit points possible. Perfection. With that, additionally, one other recommendation I think that the developers could make as an adjustment is 10 rounds is kind of long. It takes a lot of time. I remember there was portions in the middle of 10 rounds that suddenly it was time to either open bosses or it was time to have reset, and you can't really back out without losing your spot. So I think something that's a little bit more reasonable would be maybe 5 to 7 rounds. Also, I think that depending on how many rounds you go, should give you a different amount of harmony gold. That way, if you do need to quit, you can get a little bit more gold for your effort, and also it can be a little bit more competitive. Additionally, at the very end, you'll see a graphic that shows essentially how many points you made in this, and it will also tell you exactly. For instance, at this top right here, it says, game over. You used 208 heart gummies in this trial and gained 26,607 tacit points. So one thing that they could also do is, if you wanted to eliminate a lot of ties in tacit points, because obviously there is a max, the last thing they could do is maybe equate how many heart gummies that you use. So that way you're aiming in your recon to do shorter recon, use less heart gummies, because you're going to not only be afforded higher tacit points, but you'll also be afforded much more gold. I think that those would be definitely some really good improvements. Obviously, I think always the return of investment is always really low on new events. I think that that's understood. Obviously, new heroes, they always, unfortunately, make their frags cost an arm and a leg because someone's willing to pay, and I get it. But in general, I think that they could really show some love to the members. This could be a really great event and fun, but you're going to need to kind of make it a little bit more competitive, and also stretch, the benefits of doing the match game. Or at the very least is, if you do perfect, your matching and get the highest amount of points, maybe you should be able to use your heart rose petals, and instead of just getting 6,000 per rose petal, you should be able to get the 12,000 because you made it all the way to the end. I think that would be a lot more reasonable return of investment for the rose petals. So just some ideas. I don't usually give recommendations during these videos, but obviously, as it's the last day and this is definitely a much longer video, I think that, I'm going to try it out. Maybe see if anybody's listening out there. Well, I appreciate your time. I hope you can skip through the video and find what you need. I hope I was able to kind of give you a little bit of, some helpful information. And luckily, I didn't have any coughing attacks. So have a great weekend. Get ready for Love Harvest next, and I'll see you out there. Thank you.